Very good. So tonight we're going to be discussing the topic gaslighting. This is because gaslighting is a principal tool of narcissistic abusers. All of us here at some point have probably been subjected to some form of gaslighting. And so the question is, what is gaslighting? But more so, how do we survive this? How do we respond when someone gaslights us? How can we make sure that we don't allow this to take us off track in our healing journey, and we can continue to stay moving forward as we're progressing to greater levels of healing, greater levels of consciousness, beyond the point of enlightenment, all the way to self-actualization. First, we need to understand what gaslighting actually is. So this term gaslighting comes from an old movie that was based on a play that Hitchcock wrote. But basically, there's a theme that happens in this movie that's quite sinister. You see, the husband in the movie actually keeps turning the lights down in the house that they're staying in, and dimming those lights without telling his wife that he's the one dimming the lights, so that when she goes and says, "Are these lights getting dimmer?" then he lies and says, "No, it must be in your imagination. It must just be in your mind." And he does this as a continual process to degrade her trust in herself. And so now the term gaslighting has been used to apply to anyone who is trying to convince a person to deny their own reality. Gaslighting is a form of mental abuse where one person tries to deny the reality of another person. This causes a person to question their own memories, to question their own perceptions, and potentially to question their own mental health. Gaslighting is very insidious, but it's become a broader pop culture term, really referring to anyone who is telling you things that are untrue, denying what you know to be true, denying what you're saying you believe or you remember. They're ultimately trying to get you, these narcissistic abusers want you to distrust yourself so that you become reliant on them to dictate your reality. And this is why it is a very dangerous abuse technique. To gaslight is to make someone doubt what they know to be true. This is a form of mental abuse. So it's important that you never fall into the trap of gaslighting, which can cause you to doubt your own sanity. The goal of a narcissistic abuser is to make their counterpart either sick or to make their counterpart believe that they are sick. In the mind of a narcissistic abuser, or as I call them, an egopath, these insidious persons want their partners, their brothers, their sisters, their parents, their children to believe that they are lesser than. And so they utilize mental abuse as a way to get people to believe that they are less than. So by convincing you that you are actually crazy, by convincing you that you need to be hospitalized, by getting you to have to rely on medications for your mental health, in their mind, that makes them a superior human. And that helps them in furthering their agenda, which will be to move forward and get everyone on the outside to view them as superior. So now they, in this relationship, are someone who has to put up with you, the poor, mentally ill, crazy, not sane, depressed, overly anxious, emotional individual that really they have abused into that position. Narcissistic abusers will do this to their own daughters. They will do it to their husband, their wife, their boyfriend, their girlfriend. No one is safe from this type of manipulation and abuse. It is a way of life for them. So it's not even like they sit in their bedroom at night thinking of new ways to do it. It comes to them in the moment, sporadically, automatically. They're able to think of new ways to gaslight. So as soon as you go to them and you might say, hey, I want to talk to you about something you said to me that kind of hurt my feelings. They'll say, I didn't say that. An immediate shift of reality. Oh, what you believe happened, it didn't happen. Well, on what basis are we to believe it didn't happen now? Well, just because they said so. Just like that. Your entire reality is denied. Especially since you tried to criticize them. That's exactly how they'll go about it. And so this will take many forms. So you got to really be keen to it, right? They're not going to come out and say, hi, I'm your narcissistic abuser. I'm gaslighting you now. It's not always going to be so simple. So you got to really have your mental eyes peeled to recognize what you're looking for, right? Because this is going to take the form of lying, where they're denying something or refusing to admit a lie that they've told, even when they're shown proof. So some people think, well, you know what? If I just go and I just show my narcissistic abuser the proof, the receipts, the time that they wrote it, and then I say, see, honey, this is what you said. It's not gonna change the gaslighting process. They're still going to deny, not admit that they've lied, not admit that they did what they did, that they were abusive, no matter what you show them. This can take the form of them insisting that an event or a behavior that you witnessed just never happened, or you're remembering it wrong. So you say, it was kind of mean when you just stormed out of the house and you just went out to the car without saying anything. And they go, no, come on, that's not what happened. No, I didn't do that. You're being over emotional. That's not what happened. And then you ask them to tell their version of the story, and their version is some odd, untrue, inaccurate telling of the situation that actually makes you look like you were wrong. What can happen is if we go into these relationships weak-minded, we could actually go as far as to believe the lies that this narcissist is telling about these situations that happened in the past and about us. Well, you should never allow that to happen. You should never believe someone who's shown themselves to be a gaslighter. Sometimes these gaslighters will try to involve other people in the form of smear campaigns and triangulation. The idea is to get the rumors and the gossip out there about you to, again, make you doubt your reality. They even like to come to you and tell you, I was talking to so-and-so, and they're really concerned about you. I was talking to such and such, and they said that ABC is true, even though you've been saying that D and E is true, right? So be aware of their tactics. Another thing they'll do is just switch the subject when you're trying to confront them about a lie that they told or the gaslighting. They'll just switch it like you're not even talking. Hey, brother, sister, remember last year you said that it would be your turn this year to host dinner at your house? And they'll be like, you know what? I'm thinking all of us should do something next year on the such and such. They just completely, it's like, hello, did you hear what I just said? Why are you shifting to a whole nother conversation? Or they'll shift the blame immediately. So didn't you say that we were going to have dinner at your house? And they say, how come you are always doing the such and such and so and so? And if you're not sharp, next thing you know, you're defending yourself. And then while you're defending yourself, then they go, oh, I can't talk to you. You're just being too ridiculous. And then they walk away. The whole goal for them is never to confront reality. That's how they continue to gaslight the situation. They never face the truth. And so they will not accept the idea that they are responsible or anything in reality that they do not want to accept. They may tell you that you're overreacting. That's a common go-to. Oh, come on, you're overreacting. Oh, come on. A lot of narcissistic, abusive husbands will use this with their wives, try to play the emotional card. You're being over emotional. Oh my gosh, that didn't happen. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, you should be used to it. It shouldn't be that big a deal. I'm just telling you from a man's perspective. So they're always playing some sexist game against you where you are supposedly inferior for even having feelings at all about a situation. It's just another form of gaslighting. Make you think that you are wrong and you are crazy and your understanding of reality is simply inadequate. Oftentimes, they may try to blame shift in the relationship, saying that if you had acted differently, then they wouldn't treat you the way they do. All right. So it's like, hey, it seems like you're being really rude lately. Well, if you would be a little bit more such and such, then I wouldn't have to be so rude, but I have to treat you like this. You know what? You make me act this way. And then so they gaslight this whole situation. Again, now you're denying your reality. Your reality is that they're acting abusive, but they're making you believe or trying to make you believe that you are responsible for their actions. It's gaslighting at its finest. Any of this sounding familiar? It's our parents, it's our brothers and sisters, it's our bosses, it's our coworkers. It could be our own children. They also will try other tactics, such as just smoothing things over with loving words that don't match their actions, right? So they never want to take responsibility. So let's say they really beat you up last night, verbally, physically, whatever. And then they just try to come in with the smooth words and, oh, sweetie, you know what? I love you so much. You know, you're my everything. You're my everything. You know, I've been through so much in my life. And then it's like, what is this? Last night, you came in here like a true villain, like you were a total killer last night. You were throwing me around the bedroom. You were throwing pots and pans across the kitchen. You were hurling words and insults at me. You told me that I was the worst person you had ever had to deal with in your entire life. Now you're coming to me and acting all smooth and all loving. Like, what is this? I'll tell you what this is. This is gaslighting at its finest. They want you to believe that they are not the person they were an hour ago, last night, last week. So they will act completely different to get you to doubt your reality. They like to twist stories so that it minimizes their abusive behavior. So if the real thing that happened was they forgot to buy milk, and then you ask them, hey, how come you forgot to get milk? And then they got mean and angry at you and yelled at you, and then you went in the bedroom and closed the door. They'll tell the story as, I came home from the grocery store and immediately my husband's like, you forgot the milk. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can you calm down? And then they just leave and slam the door. And that's how they will tell the story. They'll leave out the fact that they really did something wrong and that they were mean and angry to you. They'll leave that part out. So they just retell the whole story, twist it up so that it doesn't have any of the bad parts for them, right? You can see how this works to their advantage, right? That's gaslighting at its finest, to get you to doubt your reality. Another thing, you might have one of those parents or narcissistic, abusive family members that like to pretend nothing ever happened. So after an abusive episode, they'll just buy you a present. They never say sorry or, hey, I really messed up. They'll just show up with a gift. Like, here you go, I bought you something. Like, thanks. This is a very confusing moment inside me. Like, am I supposed to be grateful for this random gift that you just bought me after you abused me? Like, this is a very weird thing. Like, what is this? Hey, everybody, let's go to the zoo today. Let's go to the zoo. Last night you called me a pedophile. Just the other day you were calling me, you said I was a whore. And now you're saying let's go on a date? The total disavowing of all past knowledge and reality, that's gaslighting. It's part of the gaslighting process. They do not want you to hold them accountable. They do not want you to trust in your thoughts and your memories and your beliefs. So they will simply pretend like nothing bad ever happened at all. And you're being so sensitive and crazy for continuing to question. Do you see the subtle abuse? This is a form of mental abuse. Make sure that's in your notes, because this is extremely serious. And they will not hesitate in their process of trying to get you to doubt yourself. They will not hesitate to separate you, to isolate you from your friends, from your family, from anyone that could help to support you, help you to realize that you're being abused. They want you to be isolated and alone. That's the ideal prey, after all. So what do we do? Well, I want you to get your pen and paper out and get ready to take some notes here, because I'm going to give you exactly what you need to do in order to keep yourself safe from narcissistic abuse. This is what you need to do in order to keep yourself safe from gaslighting. We're going to make you gaslight proof by the end of this talk today. So anyone can try to gaslight you. But when you incorporate these suggestions and take them as rules, as new rules of engagement, and you will be prepared for the war ahead of you, and you will be impermeable to gaslighting. First rule of engagement: when someone says something that denies what you know to be reality, is to remain defiant. The first thing you need to do is to remain defiant. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that you need to sit there and argue with the person. That's not what remaining defiant is about. Remaining defiant is about concluding that in your heart you remember the truth and not giving up on your memory, not even outwardly expressing that you agree with the person. You should not acquiesce to a gaslighter. You should not say, oh, okay, well, I just remember. You should not doubt your memory or your understanding of the situation as you recall it. You need to remain defiant. Your defiance is an important part of your personality. It is essential that you possess defiance in order to survive in a world where people are trying to erode your mental health. Your defiance is your defense system. So you must remain defiant. Remaining defiant is a part of our personal power. It's where we stand in one position and we don't allow ourselves to be moved unnecessarily. So we have other qualities such as our intelligence, our compassion, our ethics that will balance our personal power. So our defiance will be balanced by reasonableness, by compassion, by ethics. Okay? Don't worry about that. Understand that when you recognize something that could be gaslighting, someone is denying your reality, that is the moment to stand strong, to be in your power and remain defiant. Next, you need to recognize that there will never be accountability. Let that go. Don't think, oh, well, maybe if I just take this to them in the right way and I just try to argue with them, maybe they'll take accountability. Maybe they'll say, you know what, you're right, I'm wrong. Never. There will never be accountability from your narcissistic abuser. So don't look for it. Don't hope for it. Recognize that it's not coming. This is why internally you must remain defiant, because they're going to remain defiant as well. This will stalemate. I guarantee you they are not going to turn around and just hear you out and be like, oh, you know what? You're right. You're right. I just totally just made up a false version of reality. If they do that, then they're not a narcissistic abuser. So let that go. Your narcissist is not going to suddenly decide to turn around and act completely opposite of what they are. Next, stop wishing it could be different. Sometimes for some victims of narcissistic abuse, they have a mom that's narcissistic. Then they say, man, you know, I wish it were different. I wish I had a mom that really understood me. Or some husbands of narcissistic wives say, I wish it were different. I wish I had a woman that understood my needs. Stop wishing. Stop wishing. Hope is an energy investment. When you wish for something that's never going to come, you are putting an energy investment into a guaranteed failure. No one invests in things that are guaranteed to fail. That's just illogical. Likewise, it is illogical to invest energy, to invest hope into something that you know will never come. Don't wish. Don't wish. Certain things are on the outside of our realm of control. And when it's outside of our realm of control, we do no good to put our desires and our hopes into that because we can't control it. So simply do not wish. Kill that. You see, it makes you susceptible, vulnerable to more gaslighting when you got all the hope and the wishing and, oh, maybe there'll be accountability. Maybe it could be better. You see, because then every time they come and they act nice, your wishing is causing a problem because you're like, oh, maybe this is what I've hoped for. Maybe this is what I've wished for. Instead of seeing it for what it is, which is a part of the gaslighting, love bombing, narcissistic abuse. It's just a part of the abuse cycle. Instead of seeing that you're in your wishing mind, the wishing mind will keep you trapped in abuse. Kill that. Throw it in the trash. Don't wish for it to be different. See it as what it is. Live in this reality. You have a dangerous partner or parent or child. They're dangerous. See it as what it is. This next step, very important. We must detach emotionally from the gaslighter. This is very important. We must detach emotionally. You see, with the gaslighters, they're back forth. They're going to be, I love you, I hate you, right? You can't survive that emotionally. Or they're just the total abandoners. Just the, I hate you at all times, right? Either way, it is dangerous to our emotional health if we keep tied into that. So detaching emotionally means to no longer seek love from that person, no longer hope for love from that person, and to no longer try to display love for that person. Now, whether you feel it for them in your heart, that's your business. You can love whoever you want to love in your heart, but you need to be insulated emotionally. So your love for that person's over here, but you never are going out of your way to show them and to make them feel and to worry about how they're going to make you feel, because these people are emotionally toxic. So just like if a person were infected with COVID, you would remove yourself physically and you would physically quarantine. We need to emotionally quarantine from these toxic individuals. Does that make sense? Next, when we handle removing our trusts, we need to remove our trust with a scalpel rather than a meat cleaver. Many victims of narcissistic abuse come out of it with the idea that now they cannot trust anyone. Well, my mother was abusive, so now I don't trust anymore. Well, my father was abusive, so now I don't trust anymore. Listen, you need to remove your trust for that person, not for all people. Remove trust with a scalpel very carefully. Okay, you don't get my trust anymore. Removed, right? But everyone else still gets, they still get trust. Until I realize that there's something about them that makes them untrustworthy, then I'm going to remove my trust for them with a scalpel. But everyone else will still get trust until someone else, and then I'm going to remove my trust for that person. Right? You just remove your trust for the individual, not your trust for all people. The idea that removing your trust for all people will keep you safe makes about as much sense as saying, well, if I just stay in my house, it will keep me safe. Sure, if you think starving to death keeps you safe, because you're going to starve if you never leave your house. You have to recognize that in order to live and interact in the world, right, and to survive in this universe, we need to have some trust for other individuals, because without a trust, there's no relationship. So you can't put your money anywhere if you don't trust anyone. You can't go to a grocery store if you don't trust anyone. You can't go to a restaurant if you don't trust anyone. You can't ever get into any type of relationship with anyone if you don't trust anyone. So removing trust for everyone makes no sense. Don't remove trust with a meat cleaver. Just, I don't trust anyone now. That's obtuse thinking. Let's bring it in. Let's focus on who doesn't deserve the trust. Remove the trust for them. Keep the trust for the rest. And that way, you're not inconveniencing your entire life because one person was a knucklehead. It's my advice that you never confront a gaslighter with the hope that something's going to change. So now, if you want to go and confront them and try to have an argument because you're just in the mood to fight and be abused, that's your business. But if you want to keep yourself mentally safe and mentally healthy, confronting them with the hope that something is going to change is just setting yourself up for disappointment. Nothing is going to change. When you go to them and you say, hey, you know what, I just want to talk to you about something. I noticed the other day you seemed to lie to me about something that wasn't accurate. Here I have the pictures that show that this is what really happened. Here are the text messages. Here's the videotape that shows it. Here's your fingerprints that we took, and here's 5 eyewitnesses that all saw the event. They're going to go, this is ridiculous. This is so stupid. I'm out of here. And they're going to storm off like a toddler. Don't think that, don't yourself think that confronting them is going to bring about a resolution or a change. Don't confront them with any hope of a change. There's no point to that. Whenever we notice that someone says something that's contrary to reality, take this step. Go put the truth down in writing. Go in your bedroom, take out your diary, go on your phone, take out your note thing on your phone. pull out your email yourself, text yourself, compose a letter. You want to put down what really happened in writing. This helps to preserve the truth, keep a record that's accurate, because when all the lies start flying, things can get confusing. And this helps you to be impermeable to gaslighting. So have a written record. If you know someone has a background of being a gaslighter, like you've already seen more than one time, they lie about things or whatever, they're toxic, back them down to a written communication only. This is only if we have to keep them in our life, like your employees, your boss, not employees, but your bosses, your coworkers, right? Colleagues in the community groups that we're involved in. There's some people it's like we have to deal with them. So back them down to a written only relationship. It's okay also to do this with extended family, parents, when you're an adult, and so on. Written only communication. So you can text me, you can email me, don't call me. I won't pick up the phone. Why? Because if you pick up the phone, they're going to lie. They're gaslighters. So to protect yourself from the mental abuse, let them gaslight in written form, and then you can have in writing proof that they gaslighted and also the proof of what the truth is, right? So always write down what the truth is and make them write down what they have to say to you. Otherwise, apparently, they have nothing to say if they're afraid to put it on record. Does that make sense? So record everything. Finally, you want to make sure you stop listening to gaslighters. It is absolutely awful that you should remember the things that they say and replay them in your head. Yeah, I was talking to my dad, and he's like, no, the real problem is blah, blah, blah. Well, why? First of all, why were you talking to a gaslighter? Second of all, why are you repeating what the gaslighter said? Why are you thinking about it in your head? Why are you replaying it? Don't do that. Stop listening to gaslighters and stop thinking about what they say. Let it go. It's toxic, right? They have nothing of any benefit to you or anyone else. Let it go. It's very important that we stop associating with gaslighters. And that's going to be my final tip in terms of making yourself impermeable to gaslighters is stop associating with them. So what does that mean to stop associating with them? Because I want to make this really clear. It means stop talking to them. Don't have a relationship with them. Cut them off. Remove them from your life. If you live in their house, move out. If they live in your house, kick them out. Or give them that house and go get another one. Oh, this seems kind of extreme. Yes, take extreme measures to protect your mental health. Understand what you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone who would be happy to see you in the worst possible condition. They will be happy to see you lose your mind. That's sick. Get away from that person. You're dealing with a person who, at the very core, they default to evil measures again and again and again, and they never repent for it. They never say, I'm sorry. They manifest no real change. They're not working on themselves. They're not trying to get better. They're just unhealthy and going around infecting everyone else. Stop associating with them. Plain and simple. Well, yeah, but you don't understand. I'm a Christian. As Christians, we're supposed to no. 1 Corinthians 5:11 says, you are not to associate with anyone who claims to be a believer, but is yet abusive or cheats people. Do not even eat with such a person. Well, yeah, but you don't understand. We're Muslim. No. The Quran 4:107 says, Allah loves not those who habitually are sinful deceivers. Yeah, but you don't understand. We're Hindu. Right. So as far as Hindu is concerned, every single god and goddess in Hindu culture has killed someone who was tormenting and abusing innocent persons. Get away from them. No, but I'm Buddhist. Number 4 of the 5 precepts of the Buddhist guidelines for an ethical life is to refrain from someone who has false and hurtful speech. So I don't care what culture it is that they try to say, well, we're this culture and that justifies my abuse, or what religion they try to say justifies their abuse. Nothing justifies abusing a child, abusing your wife, abusing your husband. Nothing justifies it. And to do so habitually without ever apologizing, it's unacceptable. Remove these people from your life. In order to stay strong from gaslighters, we have to be internally focused rather than externally focused. If you continue to look for your reality from the external, then you're going to continue to be gaslit again and again and again. So let's work on trusting our internal guide rather than the external. And let's just do this brief meditation together so that we can change that paradigm. Okay. So if you're in a safe place, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And I want you to picture yourself traveling inside of your heart. And as you go inside of your heart, it opens up into a beautiful garden-like scene. And in this beautiful garden of your heart, there's a path right down the middle. Now picture yourself walking down the path. And as you walk down, you start to see a tablet at the end of the path, a stone tablet sticking up out of the ground. I want you to walk up toward that stone tablet. And as you look at it closely, it's got lines written on it. And suddenly there's a voice that comes from the sky. And the voice says, "This tablet is your code. This is your internal code. This is the code of truth, the code of ethics, and the code of morals by which you will be guided. Only you can add new truth to the code. But if anyone ever says anything that contradicts the code, you must reject it." Did that sink in? The voice said, anyone that contradicts the code, you must reject what they say. Suddenly, picture a lightning bolt coming down from the sky and hitting that tablet. But it doesn't destroy the tablet. It turns it to diamond. Now it is indestructible. Go ahead and touch it. Reach out and touch the tablet. This is your internal guide. From now on, you will not look to the external to find out what is real and what is true. You will rely on your internal guide that only you can add to. Now open your eyes. Put your hand on your heart and feel in there. That is your internal guide. You should no longer be externally focused and looking for reality. I want you to follow your internal guide. I want you to look internally first. And if something doesn't line up with what you know to be true, then I want you to reject it. Well, a huge thank you to our record attendance of 53 in our Zoom room and 47 in our TikTok chat or live. Thank you so much all for being here.